Okay guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So we were discussing on how to get the net borrowings, and so the net borrowings, it's the long-term debt plus the short-term debt or the notes payable. So these values, the long-term debt and the short-term debt, you're gonna get them on Reuters. So you're just going to go on Reuters the way I've shown you before, and then you get those values and come and paste them here on Excel. So when you get those values, you then add up everything to get the value of FCFF. So as you can see on the screen, this is basically how you are expected to present your work nicely and organized and looking attractive. So when you get all the values of FCFE from, let's say, 2015 to 2020, you then can calculate the growth rate of the cash flows, just as I had previously shown you. Higher. So the next step, when we have done all this, the next step is to look for the discounting rate. So for FCFE model, the discounting rate will be the cost of equity KE, and for FCFF, the discounting rate will be WACC. Higher, the WACC that we learned in corporate finance. So to get the cost of equity KE, you can either there are two approaches. You can use Gordon's model, where you're required to work with dividends, or alternatively you can use CAPM. So in this video, just to keep it short, I'm not going to show you how to do using CAPM, but if as a pair you want to use CAPM, you can just tell me, I'll teach you how to do it. So this KE, let's take an example here. This is equity. This is the work that I did on equity. So when we come up here, we can see that equity, they have from 2016 to 2019, they have been paying consistent amounts of dividends, and in 2020 they paid a dividend of 2.5, but after the COVID-19 breakout, they recalled those dividends, you see, because equity, they normally pay out dividends in around March. So that's when COVID came and they recalled. So we cannot work with this 2.5. So working with 2% all through gave us a growth rate of 0, and we can't work with that. So alternatively, what you do, I'm just showing you this. Okay, alternatively, if you can't work with the dividends, you work with earnings per share. Then the value of earnings per share, you get them on Reuters. So let me just show you. I don't know if my network will behave. I'm using Telcom, so it may be a bit slow. Here, you come down here kwa profile. Here we have them. You can see right here, you have the earnings per share from 2018. I hope you can see here. You can, from 2018 all the way to 2020. Which company is this? Safaricom. So basically, that's where you guys are going to get the earnings per share. If you can't get the earnings per share from all the way from 2015, just go to Simply Wall Street. You're going to get them there. Higher. So when you get the earnings per share, you then calculate the growth rate. Alafu, after calculating the growth rate, you can then work with this formula ya KE is D1 over PO plus G. So our D1 will be D1 is DO plus DO multiplied by 1 plus G. So for example, the DO that we were working with was 2019, that is 5.93. So that 5.93, I multiplied it by 1 plus 0.458, this growth rate, so that I can get the value of D1. So when I got the value of, I hope you have understood, because here, okay, let me see. Yeah, so just follow here on my formulas bar. So I took B25, and B25 is the value of 2019. I multiplied it by B31, that is 1 plus G. So that's what I mean by D1. Divide by PO. So when I was doing this assignment, I was doing it on March 5th. So the current share price was 37.5. So you go and take that value, you divide it plus G, the growth rate 4.58, you get the value of KE 16.517. And since we are doing this assignment together, this is basically the KE you guys are supposed to work to get and work with, this 16.5.17, just for the sake of togetherness. So for the guys that are doing FCFE, your discounting rate is as simple as that ABCD. Higher. So let's move to the guys that are working with WACC. So how do we calculate WACC? WACC is the effective cost of debt to cover A34, cell A34. So yeah, put your eyes here. Higher. WACC is the effective cost of debt, that is the debt, that is KD 1 minus T. Okay, you multiply by the debt over the total value of the company plus KE over equity over the total value of the company. So here's the value of equity and debt. You can very much easily get them on Reuters. So you'll just come on Reuters and get those values kwa the financials. Okay, you come and get them on the financials. Higher. So we have here, we have here the value of total debt. So you just come and pick these numbers, okay? And then when you go further down, let's see if we can get, here we have it here, the value of total equity. So you see everything is so direct. So you come and pick this number, because okay, when you are calculating the discounting rate, you are working with 1 year. Okay, you can't work with 5 years. So kama you are starting your analysis from 2020, you're going to work with the total equity of 2020 and the total debt of 2020. Okay, so you just come and pick this 64,210 and this 110,719. I hope you have understood. Higher. So you just yeah, just work with this formula. I'm sure we have worked with this formula before when we were doing corporate finance, so it will be easy for you guys. Higher. So let's say we are doing our analysis from 2020 all the way to 2025, and you can also do the analysis for 5 to 10 years. So let's, when we are working with the growth rate, utakuwa na 3 growth rates. Okay, the growth rate of year 1 to 5 and from year 6 to 10, and the growth rate to infinity. So here I'm just showing you a short example. Hapa tuko hapa kwa period. Okay, so you come and write year from 2021 to 2025, okay? And then you get the FCFF of year 1 is equals to FCFF of year 01 plus G. So this part, you're basically growing these cash flows by 1 plus G. Okay, so let's say the growth rate you got in this formula was 20%, of the cash flows was 20%. So you come and take the FCFF. See, we have said we are starting our analysis from 2020. You take that value that you got for FCFF 2020, 1 plus G. Yeah, you get the answer here. Higher. When you move to 2022, you'll take the FCFF of 2021, and then you grow it by 1 plus G, and so forth hadi ufike 2025. And then when you get to 2026, you then change the growth rate. You switch up the growth rate. For example, maybe you can say that from year 6 to year 10, the growth rate will be 2/3 of the initial growth rate that you are using. So maybe you are using 20% from year 1 to year 5. So from